I need the money tomorrow. My father's voice thundered through the living room as he slammed a folder onto the table. Inside were pages of numbers, debts, signatures. Overdue notices everywhere. Your sister owes $800,000, he said coldly. You'll pay it. And without delay. I blinked at him, stunned. Why me? Because you actually have money, he snapped. Family helps family. Family. The same word he'd used when he drained my college fund to pay for my sister's wedding. The same word that had always meant them first, me last. My name is Lydia Grant, 34 years old. I built my design company from a cramped apartment and sleepless nights. No one helped me, not once. And now, the same man who called me selfish for working too much wanted me to clean up his golden child's mess. I looked at the folder again, then at him. Okay, I said softly. He smirked, the smirk of a man certain he'd won. Good girl. Don't disappoint me again. That night I packed my passport, laptop, and a single suitcase. I transferred my savings into a secure account, left my house keys on the kitchen counter, and booked a one-way ticket to Lisbon. 4 hours later I was boarding my flight. When he came to my house the next morning expecting the money, he found only a locked door and a small wooden box on the porch. Inside were two things: a shredded copy of my birth certificate and a note that read, "You taught me family is a transaction. This time the price is freedom." Neighbors said they heard him scream when he opened it. By the time my plane landed in Lisbon, my phone had over 50 missed calls, all from Dad. Then came the texts. What have you done? You're a disgrace. Come back and fix this mess. I turned my phone off and watched the sun rise over the Atlantic from the airplane window. For the first time in years I felt weightless. No expectations. No guilt. No manipulation. Just air. I rented a small apartment overlooking the river, quiet and bright. Every morning I walked to a cafe and worked remotely for my old firm. I kept my name off everything. The company continued under my partner's signature, and my income flowed silently into a private account. Weeks later, when I finally checked my messages again, the tone had changed. Panic. The collectors came. They're threatening to take the house. Your sister's missing. This is your fault, Lydia. But the truth was simple. It wasn't mine to fix anymore. They had handed me their chaos, expecting me to absorb it, to keep them clean while I drowned. I had spent my life trying to earn a love that came with receipts. Now I was cashing out. 3 months passed. The debt they'd thrown on me became public. Dad's reputation was ruined. My sister's credit destroyed. Then one evening an email slipped into my business inbox. No subject line. Just one message. You can run, Lydia, but you can't hide forever. The world is smaller than you think. I stared at it. The address was familiar. It wasn't from Dad. It was from Emily. The message was short, but it carried the weight of every stolen childhood memory. I sat in my Lisbon apartment, city lights painting the walls gold, and reread her email. There was no apology, no regret, just entitlement like always. She'd been the family's princess since birth. The one who deserved help, who needed time, who had potential. I was the one who didn't deserve anything. I typed back slowly, "You found me. So now what?" Her reply came minutes later. "Dad's furious. The debt collectors are threatening us. You could end this with one wire transfer. Don't pretend you're innocent. You owe this family everything." I almost laughed. Oh, I owed them something, but it was silence. And I was done paying it. Instead of replying, I attached a single photo. A plane ticket to New York, dated 3 weeks ahead. No caption. No explanation. If she thought she could scare me, she was wrong. I wasn't running anymore. I was repositioning. 3 weeks later, I landed in New York to meet a potential investor for my firm's expansion. My phone buzzed before I even left the airport. Unknown number. Turn around. For a split second my chest tightened. I spun and froze. Emily stood near the arrival's gate. Pale. Thinner. Eyes red from crying. She wasn't there to threaten me. She was trembling. "Dad's gone," she whispered. "He collapsed this morning. Heart attack." The world slowed. The noise around us faded. Because even after everything, I wasn't ready to hear that. For a long moment I just stood there, suitcase in hand, trying to decide what I was supposed to feel. Grief? Anger? Relief? Emily's voice broke the silence. "They said it was stress. He kept shouting about the debt, about you." I looked at her. The same sister who'd smirked while I begged our parents to believe in me. Now her face was gray, her mascara streaked, her voice brittle. "I didn't want this," I said quietly. "I just wanted peace." "You left him to deal with everything," she sniffled, shaking her head. "You knew he wasn't well." "I left because he handed me an $800,000 mistake and called it love." Her jaw trembled. "You could have helped. And he could have treated me like his daughter," I shot back. She flinched. The words hung heavy between us, raw, final. The next day I flew home for the funeral. The same house that once echoed with Dad's booming orders now sat silent, curtains drawn. Mom barely looked at me. During the service, whispers rippled through the crowd. Everyone knew about the debt, the downfall, the screaming match that had gone viral after a collector filmed it. After the burial, I found Emily outside, sitting by the fence, staring into nothing. "He left you something," she said without looking up. I frowned. "What do you mean?" She handed me a sealed envelope. Inside was a short letter, uneven handwriting written in haste. "Lydia, you were always stronger than I deserved. Don't let this destroy you." The box I opened that day, I finally understood. "I'm sorry." A lump rose in my throat. For once he hadn't ordered me. He'd admitted the truth. But one last secret still waited in that house. After the crowd dispersed, I lingered there, inside the same walls that once felt like a fortress I could never escape. Everything was frozen in time. His leather chair still faced the fireplace, a glass of half-empty whiskey beside it. The air smelled of paper and regret. I walked down the hallway toward his study, a room I hadn't entered since college. He'd always kept it locked, claiming some doors stay closed for a reason. But that day the door stood slightly ajar. Inside, stacks of papers covered the desk. Contracts, business ledgers, faded bank receipts. One folder caught my eye, labeled Grant Backup. I opened it slowly. It wasn't about my sister. It was mine. Every design, patent, early blueprint, even emails from my first clients. All printed, copied, and neatly filed. There was a note taped to the front. "If she ever leaves, she'll need proof of what she built." My throat tightened. For years I'd believed he never cared. But somewhere beneath the anger, maybe he had been watching, protecting in his own controlling way. Behind the folder was something else. A sealed envelope with my name scrolled across it. Inside was a single key and a slip of paper. "Storage locker 312, downtown." I hesitated, but curiosity won. Later that evening I unlocked it and found a small safe. Inside that, a stack of documents and one check. $820,000. It was the exact amount of the debt he had demanded I pay, now transferred into my name. I stood there, heart pounding, realizing the truth. The box I'd opened that morning hadn't made him scream from anger. It had made him wake up. The check trembled between my fingers. $820,000. The number that had once symbolized my father's command was now an apology written in ink. Tucked behind it was something stranger. A letter dated 3 weeks before his death. To the bank manager, transfer the remaining estate holdings equally between my daughters. Lydia has earned her independence. Emily will need guidance. She once rejected. Handle it quietly. No press, no announcements. My breath caught. He had tried to fix everything before it was too late. He hadn't told anyone, not even Mom. The next morning I met with his lawyer. Thomas, a tired man in his 60s, looked at me kindly. "He came here 2 days before his heart attack," he said. He was different, quieter. Said he'd finally realized love isn't measured in money but fairness. For the first time I didn't see the monster who barked orders and threw debts around. I saw a man who had been drowning in his own guilt, trying to fix the unfixable. Still, the damage he'd left behind was real. Mom refused to speak to me, blaming me for the heartache. Emily hadn't answered a single call since the funeral. I thought about leaving again. Maybe sell the check, close the chapter, vanish like before. But that night I stood outside my father's study, running my fingers over the old wooden door. "I forgive you," I whispered. "But I won't carry this anymore." Then I did what he never could. I tore the check in half, piece by piece, and burned it in the fireplace. The ashes curled into the air like tiny black butterflies. For the first time the house didn't feel haunted. It felt released. The next knock on the door was in peace. It was Emily. When I opened the door, she stood there clutching a rain-soaked envelope. Her hair was messy, eyes red-rimmed, shoulders trembling as if she'd been standing there for hours. "Can I come in?" she asked quietly. I nodded, stepping aside. She walked into the living room and stared at the ashes in the fireplace. "You burned it." "Yes," I said simply. "It wasn't mine to keep." She swallowed hard. "I thought you'd cash it, that you'd rub it in our faces." "I don't need proof anymore," I replied. "Dad already gave me what I wanted, the truth." For a long minute the only sound was the crackle of the fire. Then she held out the envelope. "He left me one too." Inside was a smaller letter, handwriting unsteady but clear. "Emily, stop competing with your sister. The world won't hand you what she earned. Learn from her. Work beside her, not against her." Her voice broke. "I hated you for everything. Your success, your calm, your distance. But now I see you were surviving the same people who praised me." I exhaled slowly. "Maybe we both were just trying to be seen." She nodded, tears slipping down her cheeks. "Dad wanted us to fix it together. So, what now?" I looked at the framed photo of him on the mantel, then back at her. "Now we stop being his daughters who obey and start being women who choose, for the first time in years." She smiled through her tears. "Maybe we start with coffee." "Coffee," I said, finally smiling back. "And peace." That night, for the first time, our family wasn't divided by debt, but by choice. And somehow that was enough. A year later, the two of us sat side by side in a bright downtown office. Grant and Company Interiors, a design and build studio we built from the ashes of every painful memory. No loans, no handouts, no manipulation. Just honest work, hard hours. Emily handled clients and logistics. I led creative direction. Sometimes we argued, but this time it wasn't war. It was growth. We had both learned that family isn't about who controls the money. It's about who shows up when the noise stops. One afternoon, Mom visited for the first time since Dad's funeral. She stood awkwardly in the doorway, voice soft. "Your father would have been proud." I didn't know what to say, so I handed her a framed photo we'd kept on the shelf, the one from years ago. All four of us smiling, unaware of the cracks forming underneath. "Maybe," I said. "But this time we built something he couldn't balance." She nodded, eyes glistening, and quietly left. When the door closed, Emily turned to me. "Do you ever think we could have avoided all of it?" I thought for a moment. No. We needed to break to understand what whole feels like. She smiled. "Then we're finally whole." That night, as we turned off the office lights, the city outside glowed warm, endless, forgiving. I remembered the first time I'd walked away, suitcase in hand, running from everything that felt like family. Now I wasn't running anymore. I was rooted. Some debts are paid with money, others with growth. And the richest thing I ever earned wasn't freedom or forgiveness. It was knowing I didn't owe anyone anymore.